This is the interior of a four-wheel pop-up camper. We're going to discuss the furnace system. Thermostat is over here. Front of the furnace is usually in your kitchen cabinets in different locations. The thermostat is going to control the furnace. It's going to tell it to come on and off. Pretty simple setup. This is the original analog. No batteries in here. Switch for on and off is at the top. The first quarter of it is a click. So it'll actually click off, click back on, and then you set your temperature at the top, depending on how far you go over here. The farther you go to the right, the warmer it is. The farther you go to the left, the colder it is at night. So you can set your thermostat at 60 or 65, 70 at night. This is a pretty simple unit. It's just telling the furnace to come on and turn off, depending on the temperature inside the camper. If your furnace is not doing anything, like no fan, no ignition, no spark, first thing you're going to want to do is probably make sure you have battery power. Your camper lights work, your water pump works, your fans work. Make sure that the furnace is getting power. If still nothing's happening, ideally the next best thing is take the thermostat off. This switch here is making the connection down here. When these two terminals touch each other, it completes the wires here. So this blue wire and the white wire coming in here. As this comes over, it's too hot today to do that, but when those touch together down in here, it makes this connection and throws power to the furnace. If your furnace isn't doing anything at all and you have power, then first thing to try probably from there is take one of these screws out and grab this little wire and touch it to this side. Or take this wire out and touch it to this side. Basically these two wires, touch them together. And the furnace should immediately start running. The fan will come on and it'll go through its ignition cycle. If that doesn't happen, then there's something else going on with it. We would probably take you to a step that'll come in a couple minutes from now. I'll show you the reset switch on the outside. But furnaces don't have too many problems, and when they do, they're pretty simple to fix. Thermostat, just telling it to turn on, turn off. The front of the kitchen cabinets is the faceplate for the furnace grate. Not much to do on the inside. We'll pan over there right now. This is your furnace system. It's tucked back in the kitchen cabinets. You can control your airflow directions by moving this around if you want air to go up or air to move over. There's some mounting screws, but taking this cover off, there's not much inside of there that you would do. Thermostat's going to turn it on and off. This is going to blow hot air out of here. And the next step, I'll take you outside to show you a little bit more details. Now that we're outside of the camper, refrigerator, vents, furnace vent, storage box on this model, shore power, exterior vent cover here. Furnace systems, thermostat, turns it on and off. Propane is going to heat it. Need a little bit of electrical to run the fan in here to circulate the hot air. So next step, if your furnace is not running, if your fan starts, your thermostat comes on, the fan starts running, next sequences of events, you'll hear a short burst of clicking noises inside the kitchen cabinets. That's the sparker trying to light up the propane. If that doesn't happen, it's usually one of two things. Reset switch, which is inside of here, or the fan speed is too slow. Probably the easiest thing to check next would be start your truck, then try and start the furnace, see if it lights, or plug your camper into shore power, electricity 120. See if the furnace lights from there. If the fan is running and it's sparking, you can hear the clicking noise inside, but it's not igniting, means there's no propane. Everything's working fine, thermostat's working, ignition is working, but it's not getting propane to light. So that's kind of the sequence of events. If there's nothing happening, check your power, check your thermostat. If the fan's running and it's not lighting, but it's sparking, check your propane. If all else fails, there's 4 screws out here and 4 screws for this exhaust plate. I've taken some of them out, but take your 3 screws out here, take your 4 exhaust tube screws out, go ahead and pull your exhaust tube out. I'll pull this last screw off, this cover comes off. This is something that I check often when trying to get a furnace going, but it's the last thing I check. Try the easier things first. I check my propane, I check my batteries, I make sure the thermostat's working. Inside here is the last thing to check probably, and there's a reset switch right in the middle here. It's in different spots on different furnaces, but the reset switch is here. I'll turn it off for about 1 minute, turn it back on. I'll check my wires at the same time. Sometimes washboard roads, these little wires in here will come loose. So fiddle around with it a little bit, make sure things are clean, make sure there's no rust. Each little prong, just push it, wiggle it, make sure it's tight. That's done, it's cleaned out, wires are tight, everything's connected, there's no loose wires. Reset switch is done. Then I will leave this off typically and go back inside the camper, turn my thermostat on, the fan should start running, sparker should start sparking, and then if there's propane and everything's working, it should start kicking out heat. You don't want to run that furnace for any amount of time without the exhaust tube here. So that's just a quick check for safety. You would probably want to put it all back together before you try and ignite it. So once this is off, check your wiring, check your connections, reset it, go ahead and put it back together. It's really simple. This tube goes inside the other tube. Doesn't take long to go in there. It'll wiggle right in there. I'll do my first screw is over here. I'll do that first because it's underneath this plate. I'll put my 4 screws in here, my 3 screws here. Then I'll go back inside and try my thermostat, try my propane, light my stove, go through the whole sequence again. But thermostat's one problem. Low battery is another common problem. Propane tank not being open, third problem. And fourth would be check the reset switch. From there, if you have problems still, best to go online and download our owner's manual or give us a call at 4-Wheel Service Department, ask for the service techs, or you can call the Atwood Troubleshooting toll-free phone number on their website.